Click the subscribe button and press the bell icon to never miss a video from Josh Talks.
Hello everyone. My name is Srimoy Pukundu. You probably better know me as the writer of India's first feminist erotica, Sita's Curse, and of course a book which is right now rocking the bestsellers chart, that is Status Single, my first non-fiction and the country's first non-fiction on 74 million single women. My book being interviews with 3,000 urban single women from all over this country. But I'm not here to give you a crash course on how to write a book and how to get published. I'm here to share the 3 most important life lessons which I now live by, especially after having turned 40 in December last year. So I didn't really have the perfect life. I joke about it that I had the most perfectly imperfect life. I grew up in the shadow of my grandparents in Kolkata, a really fat, obese child with buck teeth. What made it worse was my mother was a very young widow, a mother who was not allowed to enter a wedding ceremony, a mother who was insulted at a godbharai of her own cousin and said, widows are apshagun, they are not allowed to enter such auspicious occasions. To make matters worse, I really did not know what had happened to my father. There were no pictures of Baba in my ancestral home, and everywhere I went, people shuddered and they called me bad blood under their breath. I grew up with a deep inferiority complex. I was lonely, I was insecure, and though I was deeply loved by my grandfather, I always searched for a father somewhere. Cut to my college. I was a great student. I also started losing a lot of weight. And what do you think happened? Well, when a woman becomes desirable physically, yes, I had my first relationship when I was in college in Jadavpur University, one of Kolkata's top academic institutions. There, I got involved romantically with a man who physically abused me. But you know, having grown up as a person who never knew what is a man's touch or a man's attention, I gave in. One of my most horrific memories is when he stubbed a cigarette between my thighs and forced me to have sex with him. I didn't. I was afraid. I was stalked. I was beaten. I therefore forsake INLAC scholarship and I literally ran away to Delhi to pursue a degree in journalism and to pursue a job with the Asian Age. In a couple of years, as a rebound probably, I fell into the arms of another guy, a man I had met on a chat site. Probably all I was looking for was the missing link in my life, my father. The second man who I loved deeply, yes, he didn't physically throw me out, but he was emotionally very abusive. I remember a fight that I had with him in Bombay because he kept promising marriage, taking money from me and then backing out. And lo and behold, he threw me out of a moving car. My worst nightmare came alive. At 24, 4 days before my engagement, on a simple SMS message, he said the words that every girl hates to hear and cringes in horror. It's over. We are too different. When I tried contacting him, his mobile was switched off, his parents would not connect us, and finally when I got through to him and cried and begged and pleaded, like so many people do after a breakup, apologizing for things which I did not even know the mistakes that I had made, all he told me was, I'm telling you in plain English, don't disturb me. When I said, I've made love to you, I've given you my body because I thought you're the man with whom I'm going to have a dream life, he said, you want to be paid for it. My spirit was broken. I sat in that telephone booth on MG Road and I cried for 3 hours. There was a gentleman, an elderly Muslim uncle who used to run that little phone booth. He came to me and he said, Beti, utho, bahar to bahut log khade ho gaye. There's so many people waiting. I saw the traffic on MG Road and I wanted to throw myself in it. There was nothing for me to live for. How would I face my parents? My mother, of course, had got remarried by then to a wonderful man. What would I say to my dad? You know, it was a failure of colossal, proportions. At that time, that uncle said to me something which today, 20 years later, I realized was the gospel truth. He pointed upwards at a cloud overcast sky in Bangalore and he said, Beti, ek cheez yaad rakhna, wo na kabhi kisi ko, he doesn't leave a person alone. Someday, you will look back at this telephone booth as the beginning of your new life and journey. Who knows? You are a journalist. Maybe you will write about it. At the age of 34, with a very, very successful journalistic and PR career, after a trip to Australia, I decided to do what a lot of youngsters today call taking the plunge. With no backing, no godfather, no contacts per se in the publishing industry, I wrote my first book, which was Faraway Music, probably in many ways autobiographical. Success came. I wrote Sita's Curse. It was extremely critically applauded. Was on the bestseller shelf. Even now, it's talked about and discussed. And flushed with that success and with that glory of my new life, I wrote my third book, which was You've Got the Wrong Girl. What was not happening to me is, despite the professional success, the publishing world, in a sense, never really respected me. I was still fighting for marketing budgets. I was still having to explain why I want to write the kind of books that I want to do. And I was, having to go the commercial route. Why don't you write the next 50 Shades of Grey? Why don't you become the next Chetan Bhagat? I didn't want to do any of that. I was happy being just my own person. So, on the eve of my book release, I had a sense that there was something going wrong with my book launch. That year, 2016, was probably one of the worst years of my life. My father had a terrible spinal tumor and operation, and I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia. It's a disease many of you might not know. Google it after you hear this talk. It's an autoimmune disorder, affects a lot of men and women all over the world, and the onset of that disease for me was clinical depression. My greatest fear that I am becoming Baba came back to haunt me. Then, on my launch day, 10 minutes before my launch, I realized my books hadn't reached the venue. I was insulted. I was tired because I had put everything on the line to do this launch. I had a massive argument with the CEO of my publishing outfit, and he shouted at me. He said, "Take your books, go somewhere else." That day, I really wanted to quit writing. I said, artists in this country, unless you have a lot of money, a backing, a father's name, you are nothing. And then for 1.5 years, I battled depression. I was in and out of hospitals, and I realized that it's easy probably for a woman like Deepika Padukone, and God bless her for her bravery, to talk about depression. But when a girl like you, or if you're listening to my story, we go to a hospital and we say we are depressed. There the psychoanalyst tells me, "Ma'am, you should get married. At 39, naturally you'll be depressed. You have no husband, you have no child, you are lonely." I realized that aloneness is never celebrated in our culture, because here the highest validation of a woman is motherhood and maternity. And marriage, of course. These experiences kept coming back. The way it was so difficult for a woman like me to check into a hospital alone. The way every doctor I met kept picking up on my mother and saying, "Arey, itni successful, sundar ladki hai, get her married." These things inspired me. With a shaking pen in my hand, with a call from my agent in Delhi, I decided to embark upon the bravest literary project of my career so far. Write a story of ordinary, professional, middle-class, working single women like me. Women without a godfather, women who wear their scars bravely, and women who are not afraid to talk about what is the reality of living and surviving alone in this country. It was not easy, to get this book published. Mainstream publishers rejected it. All they asked for was, "How many celebrity single women do you have in your book?" I remember telling my agent, "No, there will not be a single celebrity in my book. The idea is to go to that woman in Raebareli and get to know her story. The idea is to meet a transgender single woman in Chennai and record her story." And what a journey I have been on. This book has also made me realize my aloneness, how hard it was for me to survive the arranged marriage market, to stand up for my beliefs. And then, probably empowered by this wonderful mystical energy, last year on 14th December in the morning, I performed what a practicing Buddhist does as a funeral. I let loose 3 fishes into the river Ganges in the city of my birth, Kolkata, a city where I had lost Baba. I said goodbye to him. I said, "I love you. I don't hate you for abandoning me. I understand that you were sick and that you had to go. And I want to now embrace you like a friend. I want to say, see my new life, See your wife who's now married to a wonderful man. See the little girl we foster who is our house help's child. See the kind of books that I want to write. My father also dreamt of being a writer. You know, at 40, all I can tell you if you're listening to this wonderful, inspiring series on Josh Talks is that forgiveness, faith, and failure, these are the three biggest weapons that you will have to lead this life, which is uncertain, which is sad sometimes, which is full of hardships, which is not always a bed of roses. And if you're a woman, yes, you may have a successful marriage, you may have a successful relationship. You may grow up like me, a ugly, fat, buck-toothed girl who nobody loved. But remember, the biggest glory, the biggest lesson for you is to love yourself. And like that uncle had told me in the telephone booth when I was only 24, that guy above, he's always watching your back, and he's always going to make sure you reach the finishing line with your chin up. Thank you so much, and God bless all of you.
Tell us what you think about this video and don't forget to like, share and subscribe.